Next, we're going to do some math. And this document here, practice math problems, are the types of problems I would hope you would be able to do. I would give you the basic information, including how many square feet are in an acre. And I would also mix up the data a little bit so that you would be able to figure out on your own whatever you need for the problems that are presented to you. So I'm not going to give you any trick problems where the answer is you didn't give me enough information. So let's look at some of these. I'm not going to do the exact problem, but in a layout where you have a certain distance between the vines and another distance between the rows. So 6 feet between the vines by 12 feet between the rows. How many vines are in my vineyard per acre? So let's look at that. If I make myself a little blank worksheet here, properties. So let's say I've got a 5.5 by 10 layout. All right. 5.5 feet between my vines and 10 feet between my rows. How many vines per acre? Well, if I've got a 5.5 by 10 layout, that means that I've got 5.5 feet times 10 feet equals 55 square feet per vine. Each vine in my layout, in my vineyard, occupies 55 square feet of that acreage. That's it. Just multiply the two numbers. And that tells you how many square feet per vine. And if I have 55 square feet per vine, oops, scratch, let me do this. What do I want? What's my answer? I need the number of vines. That's the question, right? I was going to answer a different question. But if I know that each vine occupies 55 square feet, I've put vine in the top intentionally because I'm asking a question about how many vines. Vine has to be in the top. And if I have 55 square feet per vine, each vine occupies 55 square feet. It doesn't matter which is on top, except when it's time to answer the question. You got to go, what question is being asked? What do I need in the top? But both ways, whether 55 square feet is in the top or vine is in the top, it's true either way. I also know that there are 43,560 square feet per acre, right? So what does that mean? Square feet, my units cancel. If I have the same thing in the top and the bottom, they cancel. If this is tough for you, talk to a friend, contact the Panther Learning Lab. This is math that you should be able to understand. And if it's not, or you have trouble with math, get help. Okay, and I would encourage you to reach out to others and utilize the Panther Learning Lab as best as possible. If you need help and you want me to Zoom with you for a little bit, I'm happy to do that. But what am I left with? Vines per acre. The problem is done except for plugging it into the calculator. So let's do that. Let's get the calculator. Thought I had it open. There it is. There's my calculator. So if I have 43,560 square feet divided by 55 square feet per vine, anything in the top I would multiply, anything in the bottom you divide. I have 792 vines per acre. Done. That's how to answer that first question. Well, what if I have 7,600 linear feet of cordon per acre? And an average cluster weight of 0.4 pounds. How many clusters per foot of cordon will I want to have at harvest to yield 10,000 pounds per acre? Oh my, there's a lot of stuff there. All right, let's start breaking this apart and thinking of it in a slightly different way, or at least with different numbers. All right, so what did we have? 792 vines per acre in the previous one. And we know that the spacing between vines is 5.5 feet. So let's assume that I have a double cordon pruning strategy or trellis design. I have a lyre trellis, let's say. So what does that mean? Each vine is 5.5 feet distance apart. So if I'm looking from above, I'm looking down, this is my trunk right in the middle, and I train the cordons, one cordon going left, one cordon going right, and here's the next trunk. And my cordons, really bad picture, but you get the idea. This is 5.5 feet, right? Which also means that this, each vine, if I have a half a vine plus a half a vine is 5.5 feet, then the whole vine is 5.5 feet. Each cordon is 5.5 feet long, which means with 2 cordons, that's what? 5.5 times 2 is 11 feet of cordon per vine. Make sense? With a double cordon, I double it. I've got 11 feet of cordon per vine, and with 792 vines per acre, what does that come out to be? 792 times 11. In this case, I have 8712. 8712 feet of cordon per acre. Vines cancel, leaving feet of cordon per acre. So that's what I'm going to use in this example. And the next thing is I've got a cluster weight of 0.4 pounds. So I'm going to do my cluster weight equals 0.3, just to give me a different number, 0.3 pounds, all right? It's hard to write with my finger on this, but you get the idea. How many clusters per linear foot of cordon will I want to have at harvest to yield 10,000 pounds per acre? Well, that's a lot of information. I know that I have 8,712 feet of cordon per acre. I know that I have 0.3 pounds per cluster. I know that I want 10,000 pounds per acre. And I'm asking how many clusters per foot of cordon do I need? So my question, what am I asking, is clusters per foot of cordon. That is what I need to know. I need foot of cordon in the bottom, don't I? My answer, what I'm being asked, is foot of cordon in the bottom. So just think about the units. Don't think about math. I know that I need feet of cordon in the bottom, so how can I do that? I'm going to write each acre has 8,712 feet of cordon. And I need clusters in the top. Well, I know that each cluster weighs 0.3 pounds. Now, nothing cancels here. Not yet. But I also know that I want 10,000 pounds per acre. All right. Acre is already here. You know, pounds per acre is not here at all. There's no pounds per acre in my question. My question is asking for clusters per foot of cordon, and so I already started writing my problem to get that. But I do know 10,000 pounds per acre, and I would write it exactly the same way, 10,000 pounds per acre. Why did I write it that way and not flip it over? Well, if I've got pounds in the top and pounds in the bottom, they cancel out. I've got acres in the top over here and acres in the bottom over here. They cancel out. What am I left with? Clusters per foot of cordon. Done. Did I stress about math? No, I lined up all of my information that I know. I next made sure I looked at what I'm asked to provide. What's the question? Clusters per foot of cordon. And then I just use that information of needing clusters per foot of cordon and lined up the information I have in order to get what I need, what I want. Anything in the top I multiply, anything in the bottom I divide. And so the only thing in the top is 10,000. So I put 10,000 divided by 8,712 divided by 0.3 equals 3.8 clusters per foot of cordon. So the answer is 3.8 0.8 clusters per foot of cordon. And I could take this one step further. I just did my bud dissection. All right. If I know that I have 3.8 clusters per foot of cordon, and I know that I have 1.6 clusters. Oops. I'm writing this wrong because I'm running out of space. I have 1.6 clusters for each bud. Clusters is going to cancel. What's my 3.8 divided by 1.6? 3.8 divided by 1.6 means that I need to leave 2.375, or we'll just call it 2.4. I need about 2.4 buds per foot of cordon. So now this is something I can tell my crew. When it's time to prune, based on the information I have, based on the best information I have at pruning time, now I can say, all right, we want X number of pounds per acre. We did the calculation. Please prune these vines to leave 2.4 buds per foot of cordon. Now I took into account this time, it's a double cordon, so each one of those cordons gets 2.4 buds per foot. Each one. So down my row, I actually have 4.8 buds per foot of row because each row in my block has double the cordon length. Double cordon, all right? Let's look at the third one. A vineyard is pruned to target 4 clusters of grapes per linear foot of cordon. If the vine layout is 6 by 12, the vine spacing by row spacing, with a VSP trellis, is that single or double? Single. Single cordon. And your historical average cluster weight for this variety is 0.35 pounds per cluster. What is your expected yield? Assuming you're not doing any more cluster thinning or anything else to adjust this, with just this information, what is your yield going to be? All right, let's look at that one. And I'm going to say, File, New, don't save. All right, so I'm going to get some other information. I'm going to say 3.8 buds. Is it buds or clusters in this? Clusters, sorry. 3.8 clusters per foot is what I'm calculating of cordon. And the vine layout, I'll just say my vine layout is 5 by 11. 5 by 11 feet. And VSP trellis, that's single. And my cluster weight is, I'll call it a biggie, 0.42 pounds per cluster. So what is my yield? The question is pounds per acre. Did I say that? No, I just said yield. What's your yield per acre? What do I mean by yield? That's pounds. It could be tons. You could express it as tons. That's fine. That's just the same thing as pounds, sort of. Divide, tons or pounds divided by 2,000 is tons. So I need to figure this out. What do I need? What am I going after? Pounds per acre. Pounds per acre. Is there something that I have here that can start me out? Well, yeah, I've got pounds here. I know that I've got 0.42 pounds per cluster. I wrote it this way because I know I need pounds in the top. So I'm going to put pounds in the top. I know that I have 3.8 clusters per foot of cordon. Clusters cancel. And I'm left with pounds per foot of cordon. That's not quite there yet. I've got a 5 by 11. What is 5 times 11? 55 square feet per vine. That's what that means, right? That's what 5 by 11 means. So I've got 55 square feet per vine. That doesn't help me yet. I can't figure out how to put that there. What do I really need? I need something with feet of cordon. Can I get to feet of cordon with this number? Absolutely. If I know I have 55 square feet per vine, and I know, oops, sorry, I jumped the gun there. I've got to go back to the first question and figure out the number of vines first. I know I have 50, oh, I should have kept it there. I know I have 55 square feet per vine. I know why I didn't do it, because I'm writing it upside down twice. I know I have each vine is 55 square feet in the field, and I know that there is 43,560 square feet per acre. So how many vines do I have per acre? 43,560 divided by 55. I'm back to that 792 number that we used in the previous one. Did I make, shoot. Did I make a math mistake? And the other one I had 5.5, oh, 5.5 by 10. That's what the last one was. I'm like, wait a minute, how could I end up the same one? I had 5.5 by 10, which is 55. This one is 5 by 11, which is also 55. I'm like, did I make a mistake on the last one? No, they're both 55. So they're both 792 vines per acre. And I've got how many feet per vine? How many feet of cordon in this VSP trellis? I've got 5 feet. 5 feet of cordon per vine. Vines cancel. And now I've got feet of cordon per acre. And what is my feet of cordon per acre? 792 times 5. I've got 3,960 feet of cordon per acre. So, ran out of room. Let's rewrite some of this. I've got 0.42 pounds per cluster. That was one of the data points we were given. There's 3.8 clusters per foot of cordon. All I'm doing is recopying this information here, and the 3.8 clusters per cordon, per foot of cordon is right there, given information. And we just had to calculate a little bit of information using our knowledge that there is 3,960 feet of cordon per acre. Clusters cancel. Oop, not pounds, sorry. Clusters cancel. Feet of cordon cancels. And what am I left with? Pounds per acre. I haven't done any math yet on, well, actually I did. I haven't done any math on anything except figuring out the feet of cordon per acre. I wasn't given that. I was only given the layout, 5 by 11. I had to take that 5 by 11 and do something with it. I needed something. What did I need? I needed the feet of cordon per acre in the field. Once I put that there, I'm done. I've got these three numbers, 0.42 pounds per cluster times 3.8 clusters per foot of cordon. And I needed foot of cordon per acre. I needed that so I could get rid of feet of cordon and get acres in the bottom. And now I'm done. Anything in the top I multiply, anything in the bottom I divide. In this case, there's nothing in the bottom. There's no denominator, but there's three things in the numerator. So 0.42 times 3.8 times 3960. In this instance, I'm going to get 6,320 pounds per acre. And what was I after in the beginning? The question, pounds per acre. So the answer is 6,320 pounds per acre. Done. There were a lot of steps, but this is what you do in vineyards. You've got some information given and you got to fill in the blanks. And sometimes you have to work from left to right, from right to left, top to bottom. You are either trying to calculate based on known information or you're trying to estimate based on unknown information. So you might come at this many different ways over the course of the year, trying to answer questions about your vineyard. So this is a relatively challenging problem, but it takes practice. And so there is a practice problem. If a vineyard design has a 5.5 by 10, how many vines do I have per acre? We already did one like that. If I have 8524 linear feet of cordon per acre and the average cluster weight of 0.37 pounds per cluster, how many clusters per linear foot of cordon will I want to have to harvest, to have a harvest of the 8,500 pounds per acre. We did one just like that. Again, it's just different numbers. A vineyard is pruned at a target 3.5 clusters of grapes per linear foot of cordon. And I'm being a little nice. I'm telling you clusters of grapes per linear foot of cordon. You don't do that. In the real world, it would be buds. And you'd have the extra layer. Just one more thing you got to do. You've got to do your average clusters per bud in order to figure out how many clusters per linear foot. I'm giving that to you. I'm taking out one step, which is your bud dissection data, which might be a 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, whatever. And here are the answers. So you have all the answers. You have everything laid out for you. And so your job is just to practice. Look at the ones I did, copy the ones I did as additional practice problems. As you're following this, hopefully you already did that. Hopefully you already copied down, go back through and make it neat. Now you've got a third set of problems. I gave you 2 sets of 3 problems here. With all these 6, basically it's 2 sets of 3 problems. And I gave you a third set by making it up on the spot as I went in this video. All right. I will not give you the hardest problem on the test. I'm not going to ask you to do all of this on test. I maybe with a little bit, maybe with some extra credit built in, I might. But, and it's also an open book test, unfortunately, with being on shelter in place at the moment. But I will try to give you all the information that you need on most questions, unless there's some extra credit involved, rather than trying to put you in the position like the last one we just did, having to figure out something that I didn't provide. And so there's a double unknown. The first part of the unknown is the question asking, how many pounds per acre will I be yielding? The second part of the unknown, which I didn't tell you at all, is how many linear feet of cordon per acre, 3960. Not only did I not give you that, but you had to figure out that's what you needed in order to finish this problem. But that's the real world. Nobody hands you an equation out there in the real world and says, all right, solve this. You're going to have a bunch of data coming in and you got to figure out, how do I turn this into a yield estimate or a pruning estimate or whatever you need to do. And those are the 2 biggies. I've got to figure out either how to prune so I can estimate or get close to my desired harvest, or I need to figure out, based on what I got right now, what is my yield going to be. And then there's stuff in between, like, all right, I have an estimate of 9,000 pounds per acre. I only want 7,800 pounds per acre. How much cluster thinning am I going to have to do to get my yield down to that point? And you got to be really careful with cluster thinning and with pruning. If you, if you prune, you've reduced yourself to a maximum yield. If anything goes wrong with fruit set or anything else, and my clusters aren't as big and healthy and happy as they were supposed to be, I can't unprune. I can't go back. And if I cluster thin to say, all right, it looks like I'm going to be overweight at harvest. I don't want that much weight coming off of my blocks. I'm overcropping these vines. How many clusters do I need to thin? And then you thin them. There's no going back. You can't put the clusters back on. So you got to be careful. You got to be very careful. But that's it for this math. Sorry for the 4-letter word there.